Paul, Apex Mindset. This is actually a two-part series now on text opening or opening over text. When I say text, I mean just the writing or the words, because we're actually going to focus more on dating apps and social media platforms. This is part one. Part two will air in a day or two, so don't worry. I'm not going to hold back too much from you guys. It's just that I got into it and I realized that this is going to be a much longer video than what I intended. I don't want to just give you guys a bunch of openers and some clever things to say and then say, okay, go ahead now, go out there and do your best. What ends up happening is guys end up LARPing alpha behavior, which is LARPing stands for live action role playing. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to actually show up and be alpha. I need to give you the mental framework that you need to have when you're sending messages out to women. That involves giving you some information on how women think, how women communicate, so you can have a mental framework built around that, and then also how to show up and demonstrate alpha behavior. So those are the things. If you can do those things, then you don't need a bunch of examples of text openers because you'll just know what to say. But of course, it is useful to have those examples. Throwing out a quick 5-minute video, just giving you some clever examples of texting openers. That's what most people will do on YouTube. It'll probably get them a lot more subscribers and hits than what I'll get, because people want the simple, dumb answers that don't get them any results anyways, because they don't know how to apply it. And that's just not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is you guys actually internalizing the concepts so that you can go off on your own and get the results because you understand and you know what to do. So that being said, this turned into a two-part video. Part one is going to talk more about the strategy and the mental framework you need to have when you're sending those text communications out to women, particularly that first message. And then I'll give you some examples and some follow-up on part two. So stay tuned for that. Thanks again. Today we're going to talk about some basic text openers and the mindset you want to have when you're opening via text. This is actually more dating apps or social media game, but the same concepts or principles will apply for direct text exchanges. So first of all, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, get on my email list. Link is in the description. Before we get into the texting part of it, you have to understand, first of all, that your perceived SMV or sexual market value is what's going to cause a woman to respond to you or not. So you can say something that is less optimal over text and they'll respond to you because they perceive your value as high. If let's pick any celebrity, Leonardo DiCaprio is on a dating app and texting women, he's going to get a high response rate just because of his status and perceived value. It doesn't matter what he says. He's probably going to get a response. Whereas an unknown person, well, it's going to depend on how he appears on that dating app or on Instagram or Facebook or wherever he's sourcing from. So that being said, you have to maximize whatever platform you're using when you're trying to source women from these platforms. If you don't have good photos, if you don't have perceived value on that platform, you're just not going to do well. It doesn't really matter what you say. So that's something you have to keep in mind too. So the reason she's going to respond to you is basically boils down to your perceived sexual market value. It's not your real sexual market value. It's what's being filtered through this platform. So if you're on Tinder or something, it's what's being filtered through Tinder, right? It's the presentation through Tinder of your sexual market value, not necessarily your objective value. It's how she's going to perceive you. That's what you always need to understand. So you want to look at it like this: your profile and your pictures and the things that you have up on whatever platform you're sourcing on, that is like your marketing. Okay. That's the marketing aspect of you. You're marketing yourself through that. Whereas the sales aspect, okay, where you're actually closing the deal, so to speak, that starts with that's with the communication. So the one-on-one communication is the sales, whereas your marketing, meaning they want to know who this person is talking to me, and is what they're selling, so to speak, worth it. They're going to check your website. They're going to check what they think the presentation of that product, your marketing materials. It's just like anything else. If I'm marketing a product, it's the same, right? You can have a really good, talented salesperson, but that salesperson needs at least some marketing behind him to give what he's saying credibility and his product credibility. It's no different here. So your credibility as a good potential match or mate has to do with your perceived sexual market value. That's your marketing plan, and that has to do with your profiles. So some, guys who are out there teaching how to source from these different platforms, that's a lot of what they focus on. And that's a good thing. That's for very good reason, because if your presentation isn't good, you're not going to get good results. So now that we've got that covered, let's just use dating apps as the example. You're swiping on girls that you're interested in or whatever. You're getting matches. So what happens next? Somebody has to start a conversation, right? If she perceives your value as extremely high, she may start the conversation with you, but generally speaking, she's getting inundated with a ton of attention from men. So you're going to have to start the conversation probably, and you're going to have to get noticed among all these other dudes who are starting conversations for you. So when you start this conversation, your first line is going to add to or take away from your perceived value. So here's some principles you want to apply when you're sending that first message, and really throughout the messages. So you have your perceived value, that's your marketing plan. The conversation in and of itself needs to be relevant to her. Women are solipsistic, and she doesn't know you yet enough to see your perceived value as high enough yet for her to be interested in the things that are about you that she's not necessarily interested in. So for example, if you're really into golf and she doesn't care or is not interested in golf, and you're texting all about golf, right? That's not a relevant thing to her. Her interest is going to go south. She's going to see you as boring and as somebody she doesn't want to talk to. Female solipsism, especially during the selection process, is not going to allow them to want to entertain a conversation that doesn't apply to her, or that isn't relevant to her, or isn't interesting to her at all. So you got to keep that in mind when you're proceeding with this text conversation and moving towards a very quick close to getting her to meet up with you, right? Those are the things that are going to cause her response. Again, perceived sexual market value, and then that conversation needs to be relevant to her. That being said, now let's talk about some other principles. You're better than she is. Okay. That's what you need to understand, or at least that needs to be the framework when you talk to these women, because their hypergamous brain has to see you as better. She has to see herself as dating upward if she's going to go on a date with you. That is what you have to present. So if you try too hard, or if you seem like you're trying too hard or putting too much effort in, then she will perceive you as lower value than her, because you're trying hard to get her, right? And so a lot of these guys, when they text her, they're demonstrating through their language and their sub-communication and through the things that they're saying that they're qualifying to her, and that they're trying to get her. Any perception of trying is going to send a message that to her brain that she's better than you are, and you become somebody that's not worth obtaining. So this is why a lot of complete jackasses who have no compassion for other people, for that matter, to include women, tend to do pretty well. Women like to have sex with those guys, don't they? They like to have sex with the jerks and the assholes. Why is that? Because they're not trying. So she has to her chimp brain immediately sees that guy is better than she is, and so she now tries to get him. And that's what happens. So you cannot appear that you are putting too much effort in. Now think of it, this doesn't mean be a jerk or asshole necessarily, okay? But think about what an alpha male with abundance of women has. And that is really what the presentation is. Not only are you better than her, but you have an abundance of options. So you really don't care if she responds to you or not. And that should be your frame of mind anyway, but that's definitely the frame of mind that you want to present when you initially text her. You have an abundance of options, then you're not going to put a bunch of effort into her. You're going to just send a few messages out to some women that you've matched with, and then you're going to shut your phone off, go about your day and see what happens. That's what somebody with abundance with women does. And so that's what you want to present. You might not have abundance with women right now in your life, but this is a situation of fake it till you make it. You want to present that you want to present and do the behaviors of somebody who has an abundance. If you can do that and you get in an abundance mindset, then you will start having, objectively speaking, a whole bunch of options with women. So that's kind of the first rule. You don't want to appear that you're putting in too much effort when you send these texts. So a lot of these guys are carefully tailoring their text and sending a couple sentences. I'm really interested, whatever. I don't know. It's too much. So you have to keep it simple, because if you don't care really and you're not putting in that much effort, then your text is going to be pretty simple, right? A few words, no more than a sentence. Okay. Now you also don't want it to look like you're sending over a pickup line. So, going and searching the internet to find pickup lines, to send over pickup lines is low level. Okay. It's very low level of skill. And a lot of women just won't respond to that unless she sees your SMV as high. A lot of women just won't respond there. And that's another thing to keep in mind when you're taking advice on this stuff. Look, there's stuff that will work for guys, and then they'll say, oh, like, for example, guys love to, in the pickup world, start off with compliments. They start off complimenting a woman. I don't recommend that. But they'll say, I did 100 approaches and I got a few dates out of it, and I was complimenting women. So you see how well that works? Then this approach works really well. Listen, she perceives your sexual market value as high enough, even though the approach of complimenting her right off the bat, I would say, is an inferior approach. You still got her phone number. You still got a date out of it. You still got laid out of it because you did other things right, and because your sexual market value is perceived high, right? Leonardo DiCaprio, to use him as the example again, Leonardo DiCaprio could make 10 mistakes and can make a ton of mistakes and get away with it because his perceived value is high, right? And so that's the thing. Just because something worked, that doesn't mean it's the best way. So keep that in mind. And that's the same thing when it goes to having stock pickup lines. If what you text over feels like you've just sent that to every girl that you've swiped with, it's a turnoff. Now, I know I just said that not putting in effort is a turn on, and certainly taking a simple one-liner and just sending it to 15 women would be the ultimate of not trying, right? But the problem is you are trying in the sense that you're just blasting out stuff to try to get laid. Even though it's not putting an effort into the initial contact, her brain looks at it as, okay, nice pickup line. Either you put effort into trying to come up or find that pickup line, or there's effort in the sense that you sent this out to 15 other girls. So you're really just trying to get laid because you don't have an abundance of women who are trying to have sex with you. See, women know that when they want to have sex with someone, they try to have sex with that guy. They do things to put themselves in that guy's orbit so that they get banged by him. And so their assumption is that nobody's doing that for you. So you have to send out a cheesy pickup line to 15, 20, 30, 100 women a day on dating apps. And so you don't want to give that perception. Pickup lines give that perception. Do they think about all that stuff consciously? No, it's just that it unconsciously triggers them not being that attracted to you, or, oh, that was lame or whatever. But I'm expressing to you the reason why it goes down that path. It actually demonstrates a lack of abundance. And as we know, a lack of abundance with women is reserved for people with low sexual market value. So if you have high sexual market value, you'll have abundance, and therefore you won't be sending out cheesy pickup lines to 50 girls a day on dating apps. You'll just sort of, you'll notice girls on dating apps that you're interested in. You'll send them a quick message and then go about your day. Once again, low effort, but not quite the same as, I need to get laid. You look cute, or whatever, whatever your pickup line is, and compliment, of course, to 50 different women. So that's that principle there. And now you want to set the conditions up where she is going to qualify to you. So that's really important. She needs to be earning your time, earning everything you give her every step of the way. Her earning things from you is qualifying to you. If she is qualifying to you, earning your time, earning your energy, earning your effort, earning your compliment, okay, earning your sexual interest, then she sees you as a better genetic option than she is. She sees you, whether it's objectively true or not, she is qualifying to you. So that sends the message to her chimpanzee brain, this guy must be of higher genetic value, because you're having to put effort into him to earn anything from him. And that is the framework that you want to set up from the initial message. Okay, from the initial message. All right. So with that, let's talk about compliments again. And I know a lot of friends of mine, I say people who are pickup guys do the compliment thing in day game and even over text. I just don't agree. It's not something I agree with, but they get success. And I would argue this because they do a lot of other things right. Well, here's my opinion on compliments is it sets you up in a negative framework to start with. So if I come up to a woman and say, oh, you're so beautiful, I just wanted to come over and say hi. What I'm doing there is sending a couple messages to her. One of them is that I have the confidence to come up to her and tell her she's beautiful. So that's attractive. But the mixed message is I'm now qualifying to her. I'm letting her know that she's so beautiful. I had to stop my day to go talk to her. So who's trying to earn who now, right? And so it sends a bit of a mixed message to her hypergamous brain. Sending that over text, to me, I think is even worse because there's less courage that goes into sending a message than it does in a physical approach. So I don't recommend just starting with a compliment on her photo or whatever. And if you, but you can do what I call ambiguous compliments, which are almost like negs. Okay. It's ambiguous. And I'll give you examples here in a minute where she's not sure whether that's a compliment or not. It's noticing something or recognizing something. It's displaying interest, but you're not necessarily displaying that she is better than you or that you're trying to earn her or qualify to her. And so that's the difference. And I'll show you that difference here. The other thing is your overall expression during this conversation is curiosity rather than desire. Why is that? She hasn't earned your desire yet. She hasn't earned your desire yet in this text thing necessarily. Not so much. I mean, sometimes this is a topic for another video because we're just going to talk about openers today, but you do want to sexualize the conversation, but you're sexualizing because you're alpha male that likes to have sex. You're not expressing explicit desire for her as in other words, she's not really special yet. She has to earn that. Now, maybe if she is expressing a ton of desire for you first as the conversation progresses, then you can return some of that. That's different. But the point is, it's again, anything she gets from you has to be earned. Nothing is unearned. What you're expressing is curiosity, intrigue, a little bit of interest, but not necessarily desire yet. She has to earn that. What a lot of times guys do is when they swipe on a girl and they contact her initially, they express their desire right away. Well, the problem with that is you're expressing desire for her and that doesn't give her a chance to earn your desire, again, she is going to have more desire for you, and she's going to want you more if she sees you as better than she is and as somebody she has to earn. So when you start off with desire right away, it doesn't give her the opportunity to do that. It puts her in a framework to ignore you because you're lower sexual market value than she is. At least that's her perception, is that she's better than you are, or to use you for your attention and time to boost your self-esteem. Women love doing that. So when you express that desire, she might have this conversation with you and then not agree to going out on a date with you or taking it any further. I'm sure many of you guys have experienced that before. Well, you're experiencing that probably because she hasn't been earning your desire. You expressed your desire before she earned it. So she said, oh, thank you for the free time and attention and sexual energy. I'm going to utilize that to boost my self-esteem so I can try to earn the guy I actually want to have sex with. These women on these apps and on who even through sourcing on social media, they're single, they're having conversations with several other guys usually. I mean, at least one or two, but usually it's several other guys. And she is entertaining those conversations and enjoying the attention, because attention is currency for a woman. So she's getting this attention from all these other dudes, and that boosts her self-esteem and her perceived sexual market value so that she can try to earn the guy that she sees the highest sexual market value out of all the guys that are demonstrating and displaying interest. The guy she's trying to earn is the guy that's going to get laid. The rest of these guys are just wasting their time and having a conversation with her. But more than wasting their time, what they're actually doing is boosting her up. They're like she's crowd surfing, and they're pushing her on her ass up with compliments and with free attention and unearned sexual desire. They're boosting her up, to go get on that guy that she's trying to get. Okay. And so do you want to be the guy that's propping a girl up by her ass so she can shove somebody's D inside of her body? Or do you want to be the person that she's trying to earn so that you can actually get the date and go bang her, so you can actually get the sexual interest from her? Well, if you want to be the person she's trying to earn, then you don't want to be expressing that desire unless she earns that desire from you. So your framework, particularly an initial text, is to express curiosity. Okay. That's what you're wanting to express. All right. So be unclear. You don't necessarily need to be clear to her. Not only does this build a little bit of intrigue and mystery, which is what women love, is that it has to do with her earning you. You don't owe her explanations of what you're doing during the day and how you spend your time and all the details about your life over a text exchange with some chick that doesn't know you yet. And some guys literally start off that way. Well, I'm sitting here doing some work, and they dumping a bunch of information about themselves. It's just, you don't need to dump any information about yourself. She needs to earn that information through her interest, through her desire, through her questions, things of that nature. So hopefully, like, going through those last few points, you understand what I mean now by her. She's setting up the conditions for her to qualify to you, right? She is earning things from you, not the other way around. So when you think about texting a girl through a dating app or whatever, ask yourself this question: is she going to be qualifying to me here? Am I setting up conditions for her to earn me, or am I trying to earn her with this message I'm about to send? It's going to come natural to you as you do this, but in the beginning, this is the question you want to ask yourself. So now that you have the framework for what you need to be thinking, now it doesn't matter. So for me, like, I don't need, I've sourced plenty of women over platforms and over the internet. Okay. But I don't need to, and I generally don't. All right. I'm in a long-term relationship, although it's a bit unconventional. For a long time now, women just come in and out of my life. good looking women, and that's what happens. The thing is, I don't need to get on these platforms, get on dating apps. So I generally don't, but I coach guys all the time on how to do it. Why is it that I'm able to do that? I'm able to do that because I have the mental framework of being an alpha male. And that's what you guys need to do. Have the understanding of female psychology. And when you approach that like an alpha male, then you can communicate through whatever platform, and it's easy. So the actual what you say and all that stuff, that's the easy part. The principles I just gave you, that's what you need to internalize. You internalize those principles, it permeates through every message you send, every conversation you have, every in-person interaction you have. It doesn't matter. You see, when you understand female psychology and you know how to show up like an alpha male, the rest of it is easy stuff. Thanks for tuning in here to part 1 of text openers. This part was the most important part, but a lot of it is psychology and your mental framework. I fully realize it may be hard to understand what I'm talking about without some real examples. So part 2, we're going to discuss a bunch of examples of openers. But now you have at least the mental framework that you need to have when you're opening via text and starting these text exchanges with women. That part's more important, because when you read and hear the examples, then it'll make a lot more sense, and then you can create your own. That's the thing. I don't want you just to LARP alpha behavior or pretend to be me or pretend to be somebody else. I want you to be you and be able to create your own way of opening girls up in conversation. So this is part 1 here. It was really the most important, but don't worry. I'll have real world, actual examples for you to use in part 2. Thanks again.